The judge was already reaching for the final documents, but something about that moment felt wrong because across the courtroom, my ex-wife wasn't panicking. She was calm, too calm, like she had already seen this ending, like she had already decided how the story would go. And, for a moment, I almost believe she had, because everything in my life had already been taken apart piece by piece. My reputation, my business, my relationships. Even my name didn't sound the same anymore when other people said it. And now, the final decision was about to be made. The courtroom door opened, a man walked in, and the moment my ex-wife saw him, everything in her face changed. Not confidence, not control, fear. And that's when I understood something important. This wasn't the end of the story. It was the moment it finally started making sense. My name is Mason Carter, and 6 months before this courtroom, I was still trying to hold my life together. 5 years earlier, I had nothing but a single truck, no safety net, no connections, no backup plan, just long days on the road and a belief that effort would eventually mean something. I built a transportation company from scratch, one job at a time, one client at a time, and for a while, it worked, or at least I thought it did. Back then, I believed my wife was part of that life, part of the future I was building, but that's not how it stayed. It never is. At first, it was small, almost invisible, comments that sounded harmless. You work too much. You're never really here. Other men have more balance. I agreed with her sometimes because she wasn't wrong. I was working constantly, but I didn't see what those comments were becoming. Not support, not concern, pressure. Then something changed in her tone, subtle at first, then personal. You'll never be successful enough. That one line didn't feel like an insult. It felt like a conclusion, like she had already decided who I was going to be. And I just hadn't caught up yet. I started noticing distance, not arguments, not fights, distance. She stopped leaving her phone around, started stepping into other rooms to reply, changed passwords without mentioning it. And every time I noticed something, I told myself it meant nothing, because the alternative was harder to accept. Then one afternoon, everything shifted. A restaurant receipt fell from her purse. I didn't even pick it up at first. I just looked at it. 2 meals, expensive wine, a hotel connected to the restaurant. Same weekend she told me she was visiting her mother. And in that moment, something inside me went completely quiet. No anger, no panic, just clarity. Like the truth had finally stopped hiding. That night, I confronted her, and I expected denial, excuses, something. Instead, she smiled. That's what I remember most, the smile. And then she said something I'll never forget. If I wanted better, I could have better. There was no emotion in it, no hesitation, just certainty, like I was already a chapter she had finished reading. 3 weeks later, she filed for divorce. But that wasn't the worst part. That was just the beginning. Because after that, the story stopped being private and started becoming public. The accusations came first. Abuse, control, manipulation, words designed not to describe me, but to replace me. And it worked faster than I could respond, because truth is slow. But stories spread instantly. People started pulling away. Clients became cautious. Investors stopped answering. Contracts disappeared without explanation. Not all at once, one by one. Until I started realizing something terrifying. I wasn't losing arguments, I was losing reality. Meanwhile, she wasn't falling apart. She was building something new. Photos started appearing. Luxury trips, private jets, designer everything. And always the same man beside her. His name was Daniel Reeves. Successful, wealthy, connected. Everything I wasn't supposed to be. At least according to her version of life. For a while, I tried to ignore it, until Daniel disappeared too. No posts, no appearances, nothing. And that silence felt intentional, like something behind the scenes had changed, something I didn't understand yet. 6 months before the court hearing, my phone rang. It was him, Daniel. I almost didn't answer, but I did. And everything he said changed the direction of this entire story, because she wasn't just lying to me. She was lying to him too. Completely different versions of reality, different identities, different truths, or what she called truth. Then he told me something worse. This wasn't just a divorce, it was a plan, a structured plan, to take my company, force a sale, and destroy everything I had built, not because she needed it, but because she wanted to erase me completely. And then he sent me proof, messages, financial records, private conversations, but none of it hit as hard as the recording, because recordings don't argue, they reveal. It was from a private party. She thought she was safe. She thought no one was listening. That's usually when people stop performing and start confessing. At first, she was laughing, then drinking, then talking about me, about the case, about the plan. And then someone asked if the accusations were real. She didn't even hesitate. I don't care if they're true. I just need people to believe them. And the room laughed, like it was a joke, but she wasn't finished. A few seconds later, she added, "After the divorce, I'll own part of his company. Then I'll bankrupt him, just for fun." When I heard that, I didn't feel anger. I felt something worse, understanding, because suddenly, everything made sense. Every accusation, every rumor, every loss. It wasn't chaos. It was design. And then came court. But this time, I wasn't alone. Daniel testified first. Then came documents. Then financial records. Then emails. Each one removing another piece of her version of reality, until only one thing remained: the recording. When it played in court, everything stopped. Not legally, emotionally. People stopped moving, stopped reacting, stopped breathing normally, because there is a moment in every courtroom where truth becomes too loud to ignore. And this was it. The judge looked at her and asked one question: "Is this your voice?" No follow-up, no explanation, just silence, because anything she said after that would not matter. The ruling came later that day. Everything she demanded, denied. Everything she claimed, rejected. Everything she built on lies, exposed. And just like that, the version of the story she had controlled for years collapsed in a single afternoon. But the real ending didn't happen there. It happened after, when the world stopped watching, when there were no cameras, no court reporters, no audience, just life again, slowly. Things came back. Clients returned, contracts recovered, the business stabilized, then it grew beyond anything that existed before the collapse, not because everything went right, but because the noise finally stopped. One evening, I saw her again, for the first time since court. She looked different, not defeated, just empty, like someone who had run out of momentum. She asked me one question: "Do you hate me?" I thought about it, really thought about it, and the answer surprised even me. No. She looked relieved, but I wasn't finished. "I just don't think about you anymore." And that's when I realized something important. Hate still means connection. Indifference means it's over. And for the first time in years, it really was. Because in the end, this was never about winning in court. It was about surviving long enough for reality to catch up. And when it finally did, everything she built on lies collapsed on its own.